We were talking Michigan and what's happening there with the Sherrone Moore situation. Last time we were able to chat with you here on the show, a lot's happened there, obviously. Sherrone Moore, the head coach of Michigan, after less than 2 years, is out after there was an investigation there and some evidence turned up that he had an inappropriate relationship with a staff member. And then just minutes, hours later, he ends up getting in trouble with the law for allegedly breaking into a female staffer's home, picking up butter knives and scissors, and threatening to harm himself. Police later apprehended him, and he had a hearing late last week in court, and he's going to be due back in court facing 3 charges, including a felony, later in January, in fact, on National Championship Week. Also, Michigan, of course, is a coaching search going on. So we got a lot to talk about as we focus in on Michigan right now. I'm bringing in John Talty. Once again, thanks for joining us here on College Football Insiders. I am Brandon Marcello. John, this Chiron Moore situation, we all know, is just completely out of left field. I would say there's been murmurs about something going on, but just the way it all unfolded on a crazy, crazy Wednesday and the fallout we've seen from this. Now we're seeing Michigan has launched a investigation, another internal investigation within its athletics department. They've hired a law firm there, which they have worked with several times previously, to look into the, I guess you would say, the culture of the athletics department and how things have been handled there with the Sherrone Moore situation over the last 2 years. In addition to everything else that's been going on there, to see if there's a quote unquote, maybe a, not say quote unquote, but see if there's a lowest common denominator to all of this, which of course could potentially put athletics director Ward Manuel in the crosshairs.
Yeah, and I can tell you, I mean, there are some prominent Michigan boosters that are not the biggest fans of Ward. There, I think, has been, kind of murmurs and scuttlebutt for more than a year now, really, about, like how they felt about him and whether, he has long-standing security at that spot. Some of that stems from a, I don't know if feud's the right word, but some disagreements between Ward and the previous head coach, Jim Harbaugh. That was, it was well known, I think, within not only Michigan donor circles, but within that athletic department, that those two guys didn't always see eye to eye. People around Jim Harbaugh believe that ultimately played a role in his decision to leave for the NFL and go to the Los Angeles Chargers. They, of course, promoted Sherrone Moore. After Harbaugh left, that was a Ward manual decision. Did not, from my understanding, really look at a lot of outside candidates. So that, I think, puts him back into the spotlight too. But if you just think about the last, what, Brandon, 4 or 5 years, this is an athletic department that has been mired in scandal and drama. And, some of it you can argue has been overblown, but the fact that they keep getting back into the NCAA spotlight, the fact that you've had multiple former coaches receive show cause penalties, you had the whole Connor Stallion sign stealing scandal, and now you have a head coach who has probably one of the biggest falls from grace that I can remember in a long time, not just for his firing, but for his, arrest and what could come for him just in his personal life moving forward. It's unbelievable. So it makes sense to me why Michigan would want outside counsel to look into that. Because I do think one of the critical questions is, if people like you and I could hear rumors and did hear rumors about this more than a month ago, when did Michigan find out? Why could they maybe not corroborate that earlier? And what does that mean for the people involved who did try to investigate this previously?
Yeah, that's the big question. How long did people know about this, and how long was it kept a secret, and how many people tried to keep it a secret? Because as you said, this is something in the industry as journalists we've been hearing murmurs about for the better part of at least 2 months, and then even things even going back further involving Chiron Moore and his behavior off the field. Of course, I'm sure a lot of people have seen other reports out there from other outlets talking to, for example, an OnlyFans star who says that she was reached out to by Chiron Moore in some conversations. This is a situation where it's one where you just have to wonder with Michigan, not just the athletics director, but staffers at Michigan, like, how long did they know about something like this? Why didn't they report it? Did they report it? And if so, what happened afterward? That's what this law firm is looking into. Those are the big major questions they're asking of, why didn't this all come to light? Why didn't we have the evidence earlier? but also, of course, the handling of this, and in addition to anything else in the athletics department. I was told when I reported this Friday night, late Friday night at CBSSports.com, that this was a quote, open ended investigation by a source who's very well placed there, which means they'll look into everything. They're going to turn over as many rocks as possible to see what's going on there as far as the culture at Michigan. And of course, this is something that could very well affect just how this job is viewed, of course, and we'll get into that here later. But when we see what's happened in Michigan the last 3 to 4 years, and just seems to be controversy after controversy and some scandals, and they've managed to get by fine, of course. But now you wonder, was this the final kind of atom bomb that's going to blow things up to the point where we're completely cut away from the Jim Harbaugh era?
Think if you're Michigan, you certainly hope so, right? I think you're hoping there's not any other bombs kind of lingering out there. But I think that there continues to be. And I think I think what you see in situations like this, Brandon, or not only are you going to have these outside people now being paid by Michigan to look into things, but, people like you and me and other journalists are going to continue to dig into what is happening at Michigan. And I think what's interesting there too is, and this, might tie into some of the stuff moving forward with their coaching search, but what we're seeing at Michigan also is a lot of power at the regent level, and them exerting that power. We saw it play out with the not PE, but it's easier sometimes to just call it PE. But that deal, with the California, which would have injected quite a bit of money into the Big Ten. Michigan being very outspoken, specifically at the regent level. We've seen them get involved at the university leadership level. They've gone through some changes there, multiple in the last 5 years. And so that I think just is an interesting kind of subplot to this situation and how things might move forward. But certainly you're hoping that after everything you've been through, from the science stealing scandal to now this, that there's not going to be anything else still looming out there. But certainly there's rumblings that there could be. And that would be concerning to me if I was a Michigan leader right now.
Yeah, John, I mean, as you said, it just seems like everywhere Michigan goes, there just seems to be whispers around there. I was up there 3 weeks ago for the game, and even in the press box, there was whispers about all that. Like, and so many things in a big program like that, when there is one piece of controversy, it seems to splinter out to a bunch of unfounded rumors and then some rumors based in some truth. And as you know, in programs we've been around in the past, that seems to happen when something like this goes on. And so a lot of reporters out there are going about their job trying to find out what's true, what's not. And it's one of those things where it's kind of a bothersome situation because as a program as Michigan, you obviously don't want reporters or anybody going around digging around your program thinking that something's going on because they're liable to potentially uncover something you don't even know about yet when people are going around scrounging around. That's why all these programs always joke like we don't want to be part of an NCAA investigation, even as turning someone else in, because they might come sniffing around here and find something that we're doing incorrectly that maybe we don't even know about.
No,
That's the
I mean,
problem
it's
with these things.
Yeah, it's completely true. I mean, I think everyone has some skeletons in the closet, right? And I think these are some that are very public now, but are they the only ones? I mean, I think that's what people are going to continue to look into. And I think there's still stuff that even if you go back to the sign stealing stuff, like there's still questions that I have that I don't know that have been fully answered. And so, Sherrone Moore was very involved in that situation. Does that make him more viable to go back to and talk to about some of those things? I think he's got bigger questions to deal with right now, but I think that's something that is concerning. And again, like if you're a leader, as Ward Manuel is as the leader of the athletic department, at a certain point it all falls on you, whether you're directly involved or not. And I think that's something that is going to, be a pressing question moving forward. Is like, how is all this happening under your watch? And why is it not being stopped? Why are we continually in the headlines for all of the wrong reasons? I mean, Brandon, going back to that national championship, like probably one of the least talked about national championships because of all the drama around it. Like you even have to wonder as how much of this has been worth it for all of these negative headlines to continue to pop up. It's a challenging time in Ann Arbor right now.